I am Dr. Balaji Narayanaswamy Ramanathan. This is my channel NNR STR School of Wisdom. We were giving lectures on the three gems of theosophy, explanation by N. Sriram. Today we will be discussing the Bhagavid Gita, explanation by N. Sriram. So why the question will arise, why we are discussing the same topic of different authors. Bhagavad Gita already we have discussed 3 chapters given by Annie Besant. Then by Yogananda Paramahamsa we have given explanation. Why we read on such kind of things in spirituality, the continuous reading of spiritual textbook is necessary. It's like walking in the razor's edge. So today we will see Bhagavad Gita by N. Sriram. The other thing, see whatever we have learned so far, we are not searching for new actually. Whatever we have studied or learned is the same thing N. Sriram is also going to tell. But from theosophy angle, these people have come from East and studied the theosophy and spread it. And Sriram is an Indian. And let us see the explanation. There will be nothing new here, but through theosophy angle, what they are connecting their other literatures with this particular thing. All the books of any organization contain only one truth that we should understand. The Bhagavad Gita is an extremely popular book acknowledged by all Hindu schools of thought as an authoritative basis for their doctrine. All of them accept it and give it to it their own interpretation. It is a collection of discourse in verse form by Sri Krishna, the divine incarnation, to his friend and pupil Arjuna. Gita means song or that which is sung, and Bhagavan means the blessed one. So literally, Bhagavad Gita is the song of the blessed one. The blessed one is the Logos who is in the heart of man and at the same time is the universal spirit, the highest individuality in the cosmos. The best translation of this scripture, which is much loved by Christians as well as Hindus, is that by Dr. Annie Besant. In her preface, she explains that although the story may have a historical foundation, it is to be understood symbolically as belonging to the stage of the disciple who, in the midst of a conflict of duties, is called upon to renounce all his old associations and attachments. The setting of the Gita is just before the great war between two clans made up of people who are related to one another. When the battle is about to begin, Arjuna, the foremost warrior on the side of the rightness, is overcome by doubt, pity, and respondency, and is in no heart for the battle. There are eminent and respected kinsmen, friends, and teachers on both sides, and he feels the victory will be vain if they are killed and the kingdom ruined. Sri Krishna is Arjuna's charioteer and takes no part in the conflict, for being the divine principle in man, he guides but is not involved in the action of the lower worlds. The Bhagavad Gita presents both a philosophy and a system of ethics in agreement with that philosophy. It covers the whole range of manifestation and speaks also of the unmanifest. It explains the relation between God and man. God as the Logos and man whose self is essentially the same as the Logos. Man is a highly composite being, but the essence of his nature is purely divine. The Gita does not lay down precise instruction or injunction, but rather present a code of ethics and principles of conduct related to his exposition of the cosmos and the principles and process of evolution. Man combines in himself the nature of both spirit and matter. The Gita describes the means that will finally integrate everything and bring man to his goal and help him to find his way out of the complications of karma in which his life is caught up. It deals particularly with the way of action, but also teaches the importance of wisdom and devotion. In fact, it presents a synthesis of the three paths: Sri Krishna is not just a Hindu deity, an anthropomorphic figure who has to be worshipped. He speaks of himself as having two aspects: the manifest, which is the logos, the unmanifest, which is the background of everything. Those who do not those who do not know think of me, the unmanifest, as having manifestation, knowing not my supreme nature, imperishable, most excellent. Chapter 7, verse 24. He is the energy that emerges periodically from the unmanifest and then withdraws into it again. This is the Logos, who is the Word that was with God and came forth from God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. As Saint John Gospel puts it, there is a distinction between God and the Word. The word is that which is uttered or expressed, and it has a certain meaning or thought that is communicates. God is the reality which is the background of this utterance and which manifests through the word which is uttered. The word is identified with God in the beginning. It came forth from him and it resolved back into him. But the Lord is also the unmanifest, the absolute. As the Logos, he comes forth from that absolute state, Parabrahman, and manifests himself in a certain mode, which is the utterance of the world. At the background of the world is cosmic ideation. It is like thought which arises in the consciousness, already have existed in the consciousness in some state or form. Nothing can come out which was not already there. Let us think of consciousness as we know it. First of all, there is that state in which thought may exist as a seed or essence in an unmanifest condition. Then there is the thought which is formed, which springs into existence. Thirdly, there is the utterance of the thought in sounds, certain form of outgoing energy, which is the word. In the same way, there is the unmanifest state, and there is the emergence of wisdom in the form of an universe of cosmic ideation, and then the utterance or the expression of these ideas through practical forms. So, in some places, Sri Krishna speaks of himself as being in a state of relationship with the unmanifest because he came forth from it, and at other times as having both an unmanifest and a manifest aspect. In some places, he speaks of himself as the source, the origin of everything that is manifested, and also as the end of everything, that ends in which the whole manifestation culminates, resolves itself, or merges itself. Thus, he is both the origin and the end. Think of a point from which various energies radiate. These energies create certain thought forms at every level of manifestation. And finally, this whole vast web of manifestation is written into the point from which it came forth. The Lord is the source and the end. He is also the middle, for he pervades every part of this vast and ever-changing universe. Therefore, everything has life in changing, is in a state of development. He dwells within all the things which are developing. He does not merely pervade in a state of detachment. All those things, there is a more intimate relationship between him and them. In this table before me, there is some form of life. Does this life exist entirely dissociated from the nature of the wood, or there is a relationship between the divine life and the wood within its various properties? According to Bhagavid Gita, there is an intimate relationship between that pervading, omnipresent divine life and all the things into which it enters and through which it manifests itself. The relationship is described as one of the governance or rule. The divine essence which underlies each separate thing in some way rules its nature and its development. The rule may be just beginning or it may be well established, but there is a gravitation of each specific thing with their own properties to the spiritual essence which is the very heart of its being. Just as the ocean tide responds to the moon and is held by its force, so each thing held by the divine essence. This relationship is a developing one and finally ends in identification of the outer thing with the inner essence. This takes place naturally because that which rules is the very essence of the thing which is ruled. They are not different in their nature, but are fundamentally alike. So, Krishna speaks of himself as the essence of each thing, of the tree, the stone, the rock, the earth. He calls himself the one self, the essential spiritual inward nature, seated in the heart of all, and in the heart of man, the nature of that indwelling principle or spiritual essence can be realized. Let us see how these truths are stated in the Bhagavad Gita. In the eighth discourse, Sri Krishna says in relation to Parabrahma, the Absolute, the incontestable reality, that manifested, the indestructible, it is called, it is named the highest path. They who reach it, it return not. That is my supreme abode. Chapter 8, verse 21. Although it is his abode, he comes forth from it, for he is the manifested Logos, but there is a condition into which he withdraws, that is unmanifested, the indescribable, the supreme, referring to it says, he says, there exists another manifested, eternal, which is the destroying of all being is not destroyed. Chapter 8, verse 20. Here he speaks of his indestructibility. Everything in the end comes to its dissolution. Yet still there is something which is self existent, which was neither born or created, which existed in its own timeless. Know that to be indestructible by whom all that is provided, nor can any work the destruction of that imperishable one. Chapter 2, verse 17. All beings end, and if there is still a state which is not ended, we can only call it a state of non being, or we may say that is absolute being. The indestructible, the supreme, is the eternal. The emanation that causes the birth of being is named action. Chapter 8, verse 3. This is the primordial or a basic action which causes the coming into existence of innumerable things, high and low. Everything comes from that indestructible, unmanifested condition. I am the source of the forthgoing of the whole universe, and likewise the place of its dissolving. Chapter 7, verse 6. That is, the universe begins from the point, the center of the circle, the logos, and then it dissolved. There is a periodic cycle of manifestation, a forthgoing and a return, a coming into manifestation and a lapsing into non manifestation, the evolution of the relative from the absolute, the expansion of the circle from the center, the arising of forms out of the which is formless. The logos then arise from that indestructible, unmanifested, incomprehensible state. I am the abode of the eternal and of the indestructible nectar of immortality, of immemorial rightness and of unending bliss. Chapter 4, verse 27. Previously he said that the eternal was his abode. Now there seems to be a reversal of relationship. We can say that the body is the vehicle of the soul. In that sense, it was possible for him to say, I am the abode of the eternal, or it may be that in the identifying himself with the eternal, he says, I am the abode which is eternal. Sri Krishna gives certain attributes of his which evidently refer to that which is manifested. For we cannot speak of attributes of the absolute. If there were attributes, it would no longer be the absolute. So he speaks of himself as the ancient, the all ruler, minuter than the minute, the supporter of all, of form, unimaginable, unrefulgent, as the sun beyond the darkness. Chapter 8, verse 9. The ancient implies that he exists from the beginning to the end, that his are the process of unrolling and of folding up. He is the all ruler since he rules from within through an affinity of nature. Through we may take it also to mean that he rules through the laws which exist in the universe. In every particle of matter there are forces of stupendous power. We know that every single atom has locked within itself forces capable of unbelievable destruction. He who has the capacity to hear can hear. Chapter 2, verse 29. As marvelous one regardeth him, as marvelous another speak thereof, as marvelous another heed thereof, yet having heard, none indeed understandeth. Having pervaded his whole universe with one fragment of myself, I remain. Chapter 10, verse 42. Since I excel the destructible, and am more excellent also than the indestructible, in the world and the Veda, I am proclaimed the Supreme Spirit. Chapter 10, verse 18. A portion of mine own self transformed in the word of life into an immortal spirit, dropped round it itself the sense of which the mind is the sixth, veiled in the matter. Chapter 15, verse 17. Arjuna is really the human monad, using that term in the sense in which H.P. Blavatsky uses it. He is not the divine monad because he is in a state of doubt and confusion. A distinction is drawn in theosophical literature between the human and the divine monad, but they are essentially the same. The human monad is the consciousness pure and simple, a filament as it were, brought down from the highest spirit level from the divine monad itself. It is the spirit that reveals the monad, the logos, which is within the man and which the perfected human individuality is awakened. The divine monad is the transcendent principle which each man as he ultimately realizes himself to be. It is an aspect of the logos, is one with it. Sri Krishna identifies himself with the Atman, the one universal spirit. The Atman is not different from the logos. Sri Krishna says that the unmanifest is absolute, the Parabrahman in his supreme abode, because the logos is derived from it. According to H.P. Blavatsky, the logos that is Parabrahman is the first logos, and the logos who manifested himself is the second. So there are two ones. One as the Parabrahman and the other is one as the absolute, the beyond, the incomprehensible, and who is the everything that exists. The supreme nature is imperishable. We are not able to envisage or imagine the unknown which is beyond. But by me, all this world pervades in me, my unmanifested aspect, all being root in me. I am not rooted in them. Chapter 9, 4. Another metaphor is used. He is not only the seed from which springs every type of individuality, as the one sun illuminates the whole earth, so the Lord of the field illuminates the whole world. Chapter 13, verse 34. Looking at things from outside, we speak of manifestation as though we are observing it, as it were from a distance, but from the point of view of the life which is represented by the logos, it is a forthcoming from the center. I am the sapidity in water, the radiance in moon and sun, the word of power in all the Vedas, the man lines in men. Chapter 7, verse 8. He, the omnipresent, exists in all things. Krishna speaks of himself as the absolute Purusha or spirit, the whole of nature, including the physical, astral, and mental worlds, everything that has expansion in space and time, and all the energy that belongs to this world is Prakriti or matter. These two, Purusha and Prakriti, are complementary. To say there is no matter without spirit means there is a spiritual side to every material thing. We are aware of the various movements within our body and of what we call our mind. As soon as we say, this is my mind, there is the implication that there is something apart from it, beyond it. Spirit and matter always act together. These two. When there is an action from these two ends, certain states of condition come into being. These adjoins one another are, as it were, bound together. All beings have root in me. Think of any particular form. The very root of its existence, the source of all the energy, which shows itself in activity, and that is in him. And all that has form has its roots in the formless. Greater than the mind is buddhi. Chapter 342, it is said that the senses are great. Greater than the senses is the mind. Greater than the mind is reason. But what is greater than the reason is He, the ultimate. The Gita says that the senses are great, and so there are in their place which is on their periphery. But in the center of the senses of the mind, regulating them is the ultimate. Above the beyond the mind is buddhi, and beyond buddhi is spirit, the Atman, the Logos. In Hindu philosophy, there is the concept of a great being who is first active and then at rest. The period of activity or manifestation is the day of Brahma and Manvantara, and the period of rest or withdrawal is the night of Brahma, Pralaya. The spirit is eternal and free. Chapter 215, the man whom these torment not, balanced in pain and pleasure, set fast, he qualifies us for immortality, Sthita Prajna. This does not mean that somebody examines him, sees that he has the qualification, and then grants him a diploma of immortality. It is the man himself who prepares himself for immortality. We delight in sensation for a time, and this is followed by reaction. If I see something beautiful outside myself, should I deny my feeling for it? Should I turn away from it, try to find beauty only in myself? When I preserve beauty outside myself, it means that I touch it with my consciousness, that I identify myself in some way with it so that it is indeed within myself. Merge thy mind in me, by my devotee sacrifice to me, prostrate thyself before me, thou should come into me, and thou art dear to me. Chapter 18, verse 65. When the mind or consciousness rise into a different sphere, we realize unity with all that is experienced in that act. Thou art dear to me. The Lord dwelleth in the hearts of all beings. Take refuge in Him with every part of thy being. 18, verse 61 and 62. If we think of the divine as beauty, we might ask, we need absolute beauty as for anything else? If it is absolute, it is self-contained, it exists in itself and needs nothing to improve, enlarge it or elaborate it. The pure consciousness that is free from fear and bondage becomes one with the truth out of which it is emerged. Each one has his own pathway. We speak of the pathway of knowledge, the pathway of action, of wisdom, of devotion. Sages look equally on the Brahma, adorned with learning and humility, a cow, an elephant, and even a dog, and an outcast. Chapter 5:18. The Logos must be regarded in one sense, the different from nature. Nature is the great deep over the waters of which in the beginning. Although there is the center which is nowhere at everywhere, which signifies the emanation of the Godhead, at the work which are its manifestation, do not bind or limit itself, Sri Krishna says. Being beginless and without qualities and imperishable Supreme Self, though seated in the body, work not is affected. Chapter 13, verse 32. Therefore, this word self must be understood not as the crude center of selfishness with which it is often identified, but as something else. There is a continuity. There is a center where we find ourselves, but that continuity and center do not enclose us and exclude other self. I am born through my own power. The Sanskrit word for power is Maya, which is also means evolution. It is very difficult to comprehend the nature of the unity that is the very heart of things, that is dynamic and creative, but an infinity in itself, capable of manifesting itself in many different ways. The Bhagavad Gita is described as a scripture of yoga. Yoga does not mean just physical exercise, as it is often misunderstood to be. In reality, it means effort, union, and sometimes it is translated being yoked for endeavor. It refers both to a goal and the method by which the goal is attained. The union referred to this is that between the individual self and the supreme self. There is then a distinction between the self or the pure consciousness and that nature which is acquired. That nature that like a coat which a self puts on, it is such a well-fitting coat that the consciousness hardly realizes the distinction between it and itself. Yoga first of all requires as a foundation the recognition of the difference between the self and the acquired nature. The identification exhibits the quality of wisdom because the part no longer acts in separation from the whole. We have seen the one self in indestructible and that it is only the bodies which are temporary and subject to dissolution. The dweller in the body is the one self. This is the true self in man. It has a kind of condition, as HPP puts it, because that which is indestructible is self-existent. It is not the form for that which has a beginning in time and must have an end. The true dweller is the one self. All bodies, astral, mental, everything formed, must come to an end. It is formless. A person who strongly desires drink will be inevitably drawn to the place where his craving can be satisfied. In the same way, the desire for experience of various sorts drives the consciousness which reincarnates in order to have those experiences. The delights that are contact born, they are verily wombs of pain, for their beginning and ending, not in them may rejoice the wise. Chapter 5, verse 22. There is a stage on the spiritual path on which the man is called the wanderer. Chapter 12, verse 18 and 19. A person sets up a goal and wants to reach it. He wants a glass of something to drink, or he may want sex or a position in life, whatever it may be. And if he is denied, he becomes angry. Even an undeveloped consciousness is capable of these reactions. Rishis, their sins destroyed, their duality removed, their self-control, intent upon the welfare of all being, obtain the peace of the eternal. Chapter 5, verse 25. Man's purpose should be to rise above the bondage of karma and that net which is created by action and reaction and the places of force. There is a great deal about this in the Gita. Man reacheth perfection by each being, intended on his own duty. Listen, though, how perfection is won by him who is intent on his duty. He who from his the emanation of the being, by whom all is pervaded by worshipping him in his own duty, a man winneth perfection. Chapter 18, verse 45 and 46. Yoga is skill in action. Chapter 2, verse 50. That is only worthwhile motive, the welfare of the world of all being. The Bhagavad Gita presents us with a particular world of thought, put in a different way from which we normally look at things. It is a statement of truth which is valuable because any statement of truth is valuable. Certainly it was stated in a manner that comprehensive to those times, but we can understand it perfectly well today. Even if Sri Krishna did not speak about electrons and protons, we can get lost in complications which are generally superficial, or we can grasp the fundamental truth that is contained in it. Thus hath wisdom more secret than secrecy itself, being declared unto thee by me, having reflected on it fully, and then attacks thou listen. Chapter 18, 63. So it ends with saying, this is an occult science. This is a secret. This Krishna has told only to his dear friend. This is not meant for all. And Bhagavad Gita is an esoteric thing and it's only for the few. Excellent explanation has given. I have heard different explanation for Gita, read different explanation, given different lectures on Gita. In my channel I have given. So this is something new. This is from the angle of theosophy. See, someone comes to theosophy or a theosophy member, take classes in wherever he goes. And if he talks of Bhagavad Gita, then he should learn theosophy and he should mix theosophy. Because Spreading theosophy and spreading knowledge is the utmost responsibility of every member of theosophy, including myself. So that's why I have given different versions of Gita in my channel. I have given the theosophical view, I have given the Western view, I have given the Eastern view, I have given my own view. So go through my previous videos. This is the 230th video, I think. See, I've started with the who is a master and who is a silence. Every talk is same. The essence is one. Madame Blavatsky has given innumerable examples. When she was a child, her father told her, see, you are in a crystal cage and you are the bird. And she asked, what is this cage? And she didn't know actually what is it actually. So it's the golden cage. We have learned the example here also. Everywhere it is said. Ultimately, we have to come out of the cage. We have to come out of the cage. Madame Blavatsky has given the example, innumerable example. Innumerable example. In the east or west we go, the examples are same. Because all this has come from the Upanishad, from the Veda. We have to learn for the 4 Vedas. Learn the 108 Upanishad. Learn the 18 Puranas. Excellent, excellent, excellent. But for the East, they have learned only one Bhagavad Gita. There are 30 types of Gita I have given in my channel. Go through, learn. Find out the essence. The answer will come from inside. And that is called silence. And that is the ultimate thing we have to have. See, go on talking about conflict, separation. Learn these 2 words. Jiddu Krishnamurti has talked about conflict and separation. Ramana Maharshi, conflict and separation. The great teachers, they are concentrating only. If you think there is 2, then there is conflict. That's all. Where is the enemy? Enemy is our thought. Enemy is our mind. 70,000 thoughts comes. We have to fight against the thought. That is the Mahabharata. That is the message of Gita. You make war with your senses. That is Jiddu Krishnamurti says. Personality. Come out of personality. Then consciousness there. The sun is there actually, but we cannot see. The moon is there, we cannot see. Like it, we are that. Thank you very much for listening. I think almost all base scriptures of Theosophy we have done it. My own angle, Sri Ram views, I have done it. So those who are interested may kindly share, go on reading and listen, open their own book, don't listen to others, write their own book. The answer have to come from inside. Thank you, and those who have not subscribed may kindly subscribe, share with people who are like-minded. Thank you very much.